それでは皆さん, I'd like to introduce our main new grammar point that we'll be taking a look at in chapter 21. This is called the ukemike, or the passive form of Japanese. So let's take a look at some situations where we might use the passive form. So, 私は起きました。猫は私を起こしました。ね。猫は私を起こしました。犬が私の携帯を壊しました。母は私の手紙を読みました。大変ですね。私はあんまり嬉しくないです。私は猫に起こされました。起こされました。私は犬に携帯を壊されました。壊されました。私は母に手紙を読まれました。読まれました。そう、起こされました。壊されました。読まれました。All of these are sentences that are in the passive form. So the passive form in Japanese, for example, okosu. So okosu means to wake someone up. This is the regular verb in an active voice. But we can change to the passive voice, okosareru. Okosareru means like to be woken up by somebody. So probably if you were in your English class in high school, your teacher told you not to use the passive voice. And there's kind of like a push against using the passive voice like when we're speaking and writing in English. But in Japanese, there's nothing like that. We use the passive voice all the time in Japanese. So, okosu, somebody wakes me up. Okosareru, I was woken up by somebody. So when we put something in the passive tense, we're putting the focus on the person who like receives the action. So instead of focusing on my cat who woke me up, we're focusing on me who got woken up by my cat. And one of the main reasons that we use this is in Japanese, using the passive kind of implies that something unpleasant happened. That whatever it was that happened to me, I was not happy about it. So, 猫に起こされました. It tells us that I was woken up by my cat and that I'm not happy about the fact that my cat woke me up. I did not want to be awake. Or, 犬に電話を壊されました. So this implies not just that my phone is broken, but that I am upset about it. I'm mad at my dog for breaking my phone. Or 母に手紙を読まされました. So I had my letter read by my mom. This implies that I didn't want her to read it. It wasn't for her to read, and I'm mad that she read it. So, 起こされました, 読まれました, 壊されました. This passive form implies that in some way I'm upset or angry or sad or inconvenienced by the thing that happened to me. So, to make the passive form for u verbs, what we're going to do is we're going to change the u sound that we have to an a sound, the way we did with like nai form. And then we're going to put on de, do. So, iku, we will change to ika, and then add de, do. Ikareru. Same with yobu. We're going to change to an a sound and add de, do. Yobareru. Yomu, change to an a sound and add de, do. Yomareru. Kau. Just like we did back when we had nai form, this u is going to change not to just a, but to wa. It's a little bit special. Kawareru. Hanasu. We change su to sa. Hanasareru. Shinu we change nu to na. しなれる。取る we change do to da. 取られる。So, 行かれる、呼ばれる、読まれる、壊れる、話される、しなれる、取られる。These are all the constructions in the passive form. For do verbs, we are going to drop the do and add られる. So, 食べる, we drop the do and we have 食べられる. 見る, drop the do and we get 見られる. So this might look kind of familiar to you, right? And we'll talk about that in just a second. For the passive form, する will change to される and 来る to 来られる. So, as we mentioned, the 来られる and also the passive form of the do verbs, it's the same as the potential. So, like sushi ga taberareru, I can eat sushi, is also this taberareru, mirareru, korareru. So we can know which ones are passive and which ones are potential based on the context. And we'll see in a minute, the potential like affects the particles and stuff too, so we can tell by the context. So something to note about all of these passive verbs is that once it's in a passive form, it always conjugates as a do verb. So for example, される, the mas form would be されます. And then the ta form would be された. And so on and so forth. So like されない, されたい, されば. It will change just like any other do verb would change. So let's have a look at some of our sentences. Let's look first at sentences in the active voice. So, 猫は私を起こしました。猫は私を起こしました。The cat woke me up. 犬は私の電話を壊しました。So, the dog broke my phone. 母は私の手紙を読みました。So my mom read my letter. ですね. These are basic sentences. Now, if we want to change the sentence to passive, we have to pay attention a little bit to the particles. So, 私は猫に起こされました。私は猫に起こされました。So, I was woken up by my cat. I was by my cat. 私は猫に. Same here. 私は犬に電話を壊されました。私は犬に電話を壊されました。So, my phone was broken by my dog. I had my phone broken.by my dog. 私は犬に。私は母に手紙を読まれました。So, 私は母に手紙を読まれました。I had my letter read by my mom. 母に by my mom ですね。So, the way Genki calls it is like the victim and the villain ですね. So, me, the victim, who had something bad happen to me, は、passive verb by the villain に. So, victim は villain に何々をで a passive verb. And this, once again, it puts the focus on the person who was the victim of the action and shows that like something unpleasant happened, something that makes me unhappy, sad or angry or something like that. So, 例えば、私はお母さんに怒られました。私はお母さんに怒られました。So, who got mad at who in this context? そうですね。My mom got mad at me. And that made me feel sad or stressed or angry or unhappy in some way. So like I was gotten mad at by my mom is the idea. 小川さんは駅員に注意されました。小川さんは駅員に注意されました。So Ogawa-san was like told off by the ekiin. He got scolded by the ekiin. And that made him feel like embarrassed or upset. 注意されました。私は泥棒にカバンを盗まれました。私は泥棒にカバンを盗まれました。So I had my bag stolen by a thief. And that upset me. ですね。So the victim は So 私は or 大川さんは or 私は the villain に So お母さんに駅員に泥棒に something を passive verb と言います。So we've been kind of looking at some passive sentences like I was woken up by my cat that kind of work in both English and Japanese. Just so you know, trying to like literally interpret it as a passive voice sentence in English won't always help you. Because sometimes we can use this passive form in like a sentence or a context where a passive wouldn't necessarily make sense in English. So for example, we have like 隣の人にタバコを吸われました。隣の人にタバコを吸われました。So this is me, like, in English we don't say, like, I was smoked by someone. But, like, the idea is, like, the person next to me was smoking and that made me annoyed or unhappy. とか、私は子供の時、父に死なれました。So we can't say, like, in English, like, I was died by my father, right? But the idea is that, like, I suffered because of it. My father died and it caused me suffering. It caused me unhappiness. ですね。Or 子供に泣かれました。We don't say in English, like, I was cried. But, like, the idea here is, like, the child cried at me and that made me feel troubled. That was upsetting. That stressed me out. ですね。So, 隣の人に父に子供にyou are made to feel unhappy in some way by that verb. So that's the beginning of our introduction of passive sentences. So see if you can use that information to help you with the questions below.